Welcome to the Run Radio podcast. My name's Trina, and my guest today is Brandon Davis, host of the Get Over Yourself podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
So, with my audience, we've got a lot of endurance folks, athletes, people doing things their own way to blaze their own trails. And I know that personally, we can always be our best and worst enemies. So, is
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of what your premise of Get Over Yourself is about? Tell me about that and how it got started.
Yeah, so a little bit of framework on how Get Over Yourself began. It's kind of funny. I've been saying this term, I've coined this term since before I can even remember. Back in high school, when somebody would be going through something, it would be kind of the joke I'd tell one of my friends, hey, just get over yourself. It'll be all right. And then it slowly started evolving to a little bit more where I realized that phrase has so much more power than we initially think inside of our lives. The phrase that it's very simple. It's get over yourself, right? And so it started off when any individual goes through a trial. Every single person here on this earth, we have one thing in common. Well, we have multiple things in common, but one of them is we all go through trials. Obviously, some people's trials are a lot more intense than others, but to each their own, right? So we can all take this theory of get over yourself. I went through a trial, I went through a hardship, I'm doing something difficult in my life. It sucks. But if I can get over myself and realize that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, that I'll be able to accomplish whatever my dreams are, accomplish whatever my goals are, get out of this kind of pit that I'm stuck in right now. If I can get over myself, then in the end, it'll all be okay. Very simple theory, but when you put it into practice inside of your mindset, it produces wonders.
How have you used it in your own life?
Great question. So as many of the people can tell, I'm still pretty young, right? Um, and so a lot of my life, and I give credit to my parents for a lot of this. They raised me in a very Christian household where I was able to find Jesus Christ very early on and recognize that my life is very good simply because I have Jesus in it. And don't get me wrong, like I said, everyone goes through their struggles outright. But I feel like as I've been able to apply this theory of get over yourself in my personal life, whenever I'm going through a hard challenge, whenever I'm trying to create a better atmosphere for myself, it has made my life so much more simpler because I recognize that everything I'm going through, the intense struggles, the kind of day-to-day hardships that we all face, in the end, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just creating me as a bigger and better version of myself, which is awesome.
When I first, someone had told me one time when I was going through a difficult time, they said, you'll bounce. And at first it seemed kind of harsh. But then I was like, they're right. I'm going to recover. That was actually a tremendously positive thing to say. And so I kind of liken it to what you're saying, like, get over yourself, get it. There are other things bigger, but it can sound harsh when you're down in the pit. So, how do you kind of reinforce someone that it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing that you're going to come up, and this is an encouragement style of getting and dealing with things?
Definitely. No, that's actually a very good question. And honestly, sometimes it isn't the nicest way to say it. And I don't intend for it to be very nice either, especially when I'm telling it to myself, right? It's one thing when I tell it to the thousands of listeners on my show to say, get over yourself. They're coming to me and they want to hear whatever I have to say or my guests. They want to hear that right then. But when I'm telling it to me or telling it to a close friend who may not want to hear it at that moment, it could be very difficult, like you said. It could be seeming like I'm being very pushy. It can almost come off rude in a way. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to be realistic with yourself. Do you actually want to accomplish what you said you wanted to, despite how hard it was going to be? As an example, say I have a friend, very, very close friend of mine, and me and him started doing some challenge workouts together. And he's a little bit overweight. He's not incredibly overweight, but he wanted to get in better shape. And so we started working out together, and a lot of times he would make up excuses on why he couldn't go to the gym to that day, why he wouldn't go on an outdoor workout with me. There'd be excuses out the wazoo. He's a very close friend of mine. And so I found it difficult at first to tell him, dude, like you gotta actually apply what you're saying. You're just speaking words right now. Let's get some action going. And after a while, nothing was resonating. I was trying to be that nice form, like a friend I was. And it wasn't until I really told him, I was like, dude, you need to get over yourself. You have to start doing what you're telling yourself, or you're going to always be cheating yourself. If you can't come and follow through with the one thing you said you were going to do today of going to the gym, how are you going to do anything else inside of your life, accomplish whatever you've set forth? And so sometimes it really does have to be that harsh reality of you have to get this done. You promised yourself you would, so let's get it done. Stop kind of sugarcoating everything. Stop telling yourself it's going to be all right. It's not, unless you actually go out and do this.
Yeah, good point. When you were younger and you said your parents instilled, your faith, you've got your strong relationship with your higher power. How do you also feel like this is going to help someone else who might not have that strong base like you've got when it comes to their faith and practicing that?
Definitely. And the reason why I preface get over yourself before anything, this theory of get over yourself, like I said, everyone's trials and difficulties that they face inside of their lives are completely different. Trina, what you go through is completely different what I go through. What I go through is completely different from what my wife goes through. And the list goes on and extends to everyone. And I think this concept really struck me. I used to do missionary work down in Brazil right before the pandemic. And as I was living in Brazil, I'm experiencing the culture. I'm living with these amazing people who I'd never met before. I'm speaking their language. I'm eating their food. It's something a typical American wouldn't generally do when they travel outside the country. And I'm living there with these people for 10 months. I'm there. And to put it very bluntly, they live a very different lifestyle than most of us Americans do.
Mm-hmm.
Their houses are completely different. It's very common to have 3, 4 generations of people in a single house, 2,
Mm-hmm.
3 bedrooms, everyone's crammed together. The food, the culture, everything is so different. But one of the things I learned down there, what we as Americans would think, oh, this is a very tough lifestyle. Like it sucks being this crammed together. I hate living this close with my family members. They didn't have a lot of money. Like what we view as a tough lifestyle, to them, that was like pure happiness. They got to hang out with their friends all day. They got to relax and have fun parties together. Like our seemingly American hell, as you can call it,
Mm-hmm.
it was their biggest joy. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really put into a perspective for me, like it's all about your mindset. It's what you perceive as to be very good inside of your life, what you perceive to be valuable. That's what truly matters.
When did you decide this should be a podcast?
Oh, great question. So it was actually when I finished doing missionary work. And I don't know your viewership quite as well as you do, but I'm a very faith-oriented man, and I finished doing missionary work, and I recognized, all right, got to put on my big boy pants again, get back to work. Because that entire time while I was doing missionary work, I wasn't working an actual job. I'd saved up my entire life to go do this, so I wasn't bringing in any income. It was pure service based. And so when I finished and I said, all right, my funds are kind of depleted, I got to go back to the real world and get a job, continue education. This is at the time I was dating my now wife, so I had to pursue that a little bit more. And so I think I recognized in the end, if I didn't put forth this platform, God was kind of putting it inside my head. If I didn't put forth this platform, I was going to be wasting a talent that God had given me, and I was going to be wasting this opportunity to share this message with whoever needed to hear it. Like you said, Trina, it's difficult for a lot of people to hear, and I think that's the best form we could actually take these days. I feel like a lot of people are sugarcoating things. I feel like people are taking things a little bit too relaxed nowadays, whereas we need to kind of just get in the thick of it and recognize that our lives, if we want them to be improved, whether that is financially, spiritually, physically, whatever form you're trying to work on inside of your life currently, stop beating around the bush and get straight to work. Let's get over ourselves.
What are the first steps you think someone should take when they're trying to get over themselves?
Another good question. And it's funny you mentioned this. I just released my podcast episode last Friday where I kind of just dissected this a little bit. I don't think it's a one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
You could be going through something incredibly difficult inside of your life, or I guess I could speak to the audience here. Whatever you guys are going through, maybe you just lost a loved one, maybe you're battling some form of disease, maybe you, or heaven forbid, you're having some mental issues where you're going through anxiety, depression. Everyone has their own kind of cues that they go through throughout their life. But if I could give one piece of advice on how you could get started on this journey of increasing your mental state and learning to get over yourself, it would be to simply put yourself out there in situations that make yourself uncomfortable. One thing that I've tried to focus on very strongly inside of my life this past 2023 going throughout, is we're kind of wrapping up 2023 here. We only got about a month left, month and a half left. I've tried to put myself in so many situations that made me uncomfortable. One way I've done that every single day for the past year, I've been taking cold showers. Cold shower right when I wake up in the morning. Nobody likes doing it. It's a jolt of energy. You feel gross. I'm sitting there shaking in the shower. Nobody likes that feeling. But as a way for me to get uncomfortable inside of my life, I started taking cold showers. Maybe for you, that's having a conversation with somebody if you're a little bit more reserved and you can't kind of go out there a little bit more publicly and make friends or do whatever. Maybe that's your challenge. Go out and try and make a friend every day or speak to somebody new, kind of get out of your comfort zone in that way. But whatever realm you're working on, whether once again, it's a fitness journey, it's increasing your mental state, whatever it is, find kind of a goal that you would really struggle with, a situation that would make you very uncomfortable, and start trying it. It's going to go horribly at first. I remember when I first started my cold showers, I'd get in for like 30 seconds to a minute and I'd be shaking. I'm like, okay, I'm done. But now I can go 5, 10, 15 minutes and it's no issue. I'm just there and I've told myself I'm going to do it. So it's become a habit I've practiced.
Just curious, why did you pick the cold shower? I asked this for a reason, but go ahead.
I chose I think it's pretty explanatory that is like the worst discomfort you can face, right? When I wake up in the morning, I live in an area where it snows 24/7 during the winter as well. So it's like the water's coming out of the pipes freezing cold. There's no better way to start my day than just freezing my butt off. Cause I know if I could handle that difficulty, I could go throughout my day and face whatever difficulties life throws, because we all know life throws a lot of them our way.
It does constantly. What is your target age demographic when you're talking about these things? Because like you said, you're young and I feel like some people could be like, what's this kid know? He's probably not been through enough yet. What do you say to that? And who is your general target age group?
My general target age group as far as the cold showers or the theory of get over yourself?
Get over yourself.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Sorry.
We
Yeah, I
we went
didn't
on a
really
tangent with
follow
the
up.
cold
Yeah,
showers. I
I
wasn't
did.
sure.
The cold showers, I had read that for some recovery and stuff, and I was like, I did also try it. It
Oh
was
yeah,
miserable. And I thought, well, I've done it. I tried it. I did it, and it's not doing anything. So I'm back to the warm.
I
So,
gotcha. No, I'll throw in this plug real quick. I'm a
yeah.
firm believer of saunas and cold showers. And I know that's kind of like the trendy thing to be doing nowadays. Um, I had a shoulder surgery last year and I
Ah,
fully accredit my healing and success. Obviously, you have to put in the work at the gym and the physical
yeah.
therapy and whatnot. But as far as how fast I was able to recover, I fully put that to cold showers, increasing my blood flow and the circulation that my area was getting, my shoulder
Yeah.
area, as well as the saunas where I could target specific areas.
Nice.
So that's
Good.
my
Yeah.
personal plug.
Good to know. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. But going back to your original question here, yes, I am younger than probably a lot of the audience. Heck, even some of the people who listen to my podcast are older than me.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I get on my Instagram DMs whenever somebody messages me, I get this question quite a bit. What experiences have you gone through? And I'll answer with this. Life's experiences are only as good as you're able to make them out to be. If you're going out inside of your life and you're sitting at home, you're not progressing, you're working the dead end job that you've been trying to get out of for years, but your boss promises you have the promotion coming up next month. That is the situation you are always going to be stuck in. In my life, as I mentioned, I am constantly seeking to be uncomfortable, jumping into the unknown, trying a different practice, a different lifestyle, a different competition, challenge, whatever you want to call it right then. I'm constantly seeking to do something new. So when I challenge my listeners on my show to get over themselves, and then obviously in each episode, we dive into a specific concept on how they can improve their lives. It's not like I'm just sitting here speaking to the choir and saying, all right, you guys go do this. No, it's something I'm personally living. And it's something that when I say it to somebody else, it's something I've practiced. So for instance, something I'm currently doing. Are you familiar with 75 Hard, Trina?
Hmm.
It's a physical fitness journey and mental journey where you have to do 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes. You have to read 10 pages in a book, abstain from any alcohol, focus on a diet. There's kind of a whole checklist of things you have to do. And I had a guy on my podcast who did this exact program, the 75 Hard. And as you speaking on it, it's before I had ever done it. And I was thinking, wow, this guy knows what he's saying because he's actually done it before. So that's the same theory I try and take inside of my life and especially on my show. If you haven't lived it, you shouldn't be speaking on it. So of course, and the last thing I'll say on this as well, there's always going to be somebody who knows a little bit more than you. There's always going to be somebody a little bit stronger than you. There's always going to be somebody a little bit better looking than you, funnier than you, more well off financially than you. There's always going to be somebody ahead of you. You can't hit every single area perfectly inside of your life. But if you actually try and just improve and put yourself out there on one area and work until you've become proficient or advanced in that area, then people will start coming to you for advice on that area. You become a master in that one specific area, and then you move on to the next and the next, and it just keeps going on.
What's one of the shows that you've done that you've had the most impact and you've seen the most influence on from?
As far as episodes go on the
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
or let me think on that for a second.
I didn't know if one stood out to you that was like, wow, I'm glad we covered that, or that was a great discussion.
Oh, definitely. I think personally, and this is an episode that really shocked me. I was interviewing a man named Junia Brubrun, comes from a completely different lifestyle than me.
Mhm.
Immigrant family to the US. He grew up not really speaking English. He was kind of an outcast in his neighborhoods. Um, and his entire lifestyle completely different than mine. I'm very business oriented, goal oriented, just get in there, get it done sort of mentality. Whereas his was he every day he worked, it was in the service of others. And so
Oh,
when I interviewed him, his entire purpose, he would live in the US. He grew up here and whatnot. His family was the immigrant family, but he lives in the US about 5 to 6 months of the year. Then the rest of his time, he takes whatever earnings he made that year, financial earnings, he moves to an impoverished country and he uses all the funds that he made, literally everything, to bring clothes, food, water, supplies, whatever he can to this impoverished area. And he literally just like brings joy to people's lives. That's his entire lifestyle. And I was like,
wow.
there is literally no one on earth who can really copy that format. You are one of a kind, dude.
That is neat. Is that
Very
one of the
cool.
ones that has really hit you personally the hardest, or did you have another one that really spoke to you personally?
Well, no, I mean, I think anyone who listened to that episode, the amount of replies
Yeah.
I got on Instagram and in my email about that episode, just saying like this guy is awesome, it was ridiculous the amount of feedback people gave on that episode. And for me personally, like I said, I've done missionary trips, I've tried to focus my life towards service, but that is on a whole nother scale. This guy was he was a modern day savior to a lot of people, which was awesome.
What else do you do besides the podcast? You had mentioned something about coaching. Do you do that also?
Yeah, great question. So this past year, it's kind of up and coming a little bit. I have a background in sales as well. So besides the podcast, besides self-improvement and whatnot, I have a background in sales. And I recognize a lot of times in the sales industry, because the money is derived strictly from people's success and goals, it can be very difficult sometimes for people to wrap their head around. Holy cow, if I don't make a sale today, I'm not going to make money. And that's the reality of the industry. It's very cutthroat. But at the same time, because people are constantly struggling in their mentality that, oh gosh, if I don't make a sale, I'm not making money, or I need to provide a great service to this customer, whatever it may be. I saw there's an opportunity to kind of dive into that industry and help them recognize that just because you didn't make one sale one day doesn't mean you're not going to make it the next. Just because you struggle today doesn't mean it's always going to struggle the next time. So as far as my coaching and consulting goes, very up and coming, but I was able to work with a team this past summer who goes out and their sales force. And just in the 4 months of the summer, they brought in just under $3 million in revenue. And as I worked with a lot of these individuals one-on-one, it was amazing to see their growth from I had zero sales for the first half of the week. And then after meeting with you and just recognizing literally all my sales ability was coming from inside my mind, I was able to transform zero sales into 6 sales by the end of the week, which is just awesome. Very gratifying to see success towards them.
When you were doing mission work, did you plan to do that longer? And I'm sorry, the pandemic is what kind of derailed that.
Yes and no. I mean, it's
Okay.
kind of funny the whole situation. When I was living down in Brazil, I was fully expecting to be there for about 2 years.
Uh-huh.
Once again, this is learning the language, this is embracing the culture fully. I lived with a bunch of Brazilians at the time. There's a few of us Americans, so there's a bunch of Brazilians, so it was a great experience. And I remember the first time I heard about this thing called coronavirus. I was sitting at this guy's house. We had just kind of done a service project for him. And this is at a point where my Portuguese is, I went down to Brazil speaking no Portuguese, absolutely zero. And I went there and I learned it. And so about month 6.5, 7 of living down there, this guy tells me, "Oh, some people were trying to eat bats, and there's this weird virus going around." And I didn't understand what the word for bat was. And this guy's trying to explain it to me, and I don't know what the word for bat is in Portuguese. And so finally, it was funny how he describes it. He goes, "Batman, Batman," and he starts going like this. I was like, "Oh, you're talking about bats, like the superhero Batman." And so that's the first time I hear about COVID. And then about 2.5 months later, all of a sudden the entire world is shut down. Brazil's
Mhm.
kicking all of us foreigners out. Literally, all the foreigners in the country had to get sent back to their original countries. It was a madhouse. I remember when I got back to the US, I landed in LAX. It was a ghost town. If you think airports are always busy, imagine LAX at its prime. I've been
My
there, done that.
goodness.
This place, there was less than 100 of us there when I got home. No workers, nobody driving through. My old man came and picked me up, and I walked straight to his car and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" Hadn't seen him for 8 months. It was a very unique experience. But and then after a couple months of everyone kind of settling in, everyone kind of doing the work from home, figuring out what COVID even was, I was able to actually go out to Texas and do about another year of missionary work out there. Very different because there's a lot of online and interactive ways that
Yeah.
weren't in person. So definitely switched up a little bit.
What was your plan if if not interrupted by COVID? What was your plan when you got back and when you were done? What were you thinking might happen as
When I
far
finished my
as
missionary work,
yeah, yeah.
honestly, my life has gone somewhat according to plan. I consider myself a major planner, and so I'd like to say it's kind of gone according to plan. I married my sweetheart, which was awesome. Went to school, been kind of checking off all the boxes, and so far it's just a matter of actually putting into effect everything that God has in store for me. A lot of times it's difficult. This is another thing that a lot of my audience struggles with on my show, trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with their lives.
Hmm.
No matter if
Yes.
you're 15 years old or you're 45 years old, some people just haven't found their calling. So it's me actually going forward and figuring out what I need to do to help other people do exactly that.
Do you have any advice for those people since you've been able to execute it what seems like seamlessly so far? What would you say to the many people that do just struggle with feeling like they have that particular calling?
That's another really good question. And as funny as this sounds, and probably use this phrase a lot inside of your own life, fake it till you make it, right?
Mhm.
I know personally, sales is never like an industry I wanted to settle in for as far as work goes. And I found great comfort in it, and I'm ready for my next journey. I'm experiencing that actually currently where I'm on to the next thing. And so I think it's especially in today's workforce where so many individuals have the opportunity to switch companies to kind of chase a completely different lifestyle. Heck, especially here in the US, you can get paid to do anything these days. If you find a very unique way of doing anything, somebody is willing to pay for it. I promise you of that. And so if you feel like you're kind of at a crossroads where you want to keep going just because you're getting the paycheck, but you honestly feel stuck inside of your life and your job, or heck, if you're in your physical journey and you want to go work out and you want to lose some weight and you want to get stronger, but you just somehow can't find the time, you guys just got to workshop it a little bit. Figure out what your priorities are and just go for it. It'll be difficult at first. You may have zero sense of direction. You may be stumbling and tripping over your own legs a couple times, but in the end, if you kind of just put yourself out there and start working on something, eventually you're going to get the momentum to push you forward up that hill.
And get out of your own way.
Get over yourself, right?
Get
Get out of
over
your way, get
yourself.
over yourself.
All right, where can folks go to follow you, keep up with you, listen to the podcast?
Yeah, as I sent over Trina my links to my social medias, if you guys have any questions, you could follow me on Instagram or anything on there. It's get over yourself underscore podcast. Come check out my show if you guys are interested. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have about ways you can kind of improve your own personal lives and kind of kick it up a notch in your self development. Once again, whether that's financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever aspect, I'd be happy to talk on. At the end of the day, it really is just a mindset thing. So if you can kind of tell yourself you're able to do it, I promise you, you will be able to.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing, Brandon. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Trina.
Be sure to listening and following along at runradio.net.